Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Joan Vasso's husband liked reality TV. Did he watch The Bachelor? Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos began her journey last week as the new lead. Since then, she has been doing interviews and talking more about her husband who passed away, while recently discussing the wonderful life she had with John before he died. She mentioned that he loved watching reality television. Does his passion for reality TV include watching the Bachelor franchise? Keep reading to find out what Joan had to say. Did Joan Vasso's husband John like watching The Bachelor? Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos has been sharing more about losing her husband. She has spoken about what an amazing man he was and how well he treated her. She is also talking about the fact that he loved reality television. Did he watch dating shows like The Bachelor? Joan chatted with Bachelor Nation and gave them the scoop. As for what her late husband John would think of her being on the show, she thinks he would be totally supportive and think it is really cool. She's already shared previously that he told her before he passed that he wanted her to be happy and find love again. Her friends agree John would love this for her. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos also believes that John is looking down and thinking how cool this is. In fact, her friend told her that John would love that she was doing this. She agreed that he would think it was the coolest thing ever. Joan said he always did things in a big way, so he would absolutely love this. Fans will get to see all of her dates kick off this Wednesday night on ABC. She met the men last week, and now the journey is really kicking off. Will Joan find love again after losing her husband? Fans will have to keep tuning in to see how things go for Joan. She has some pretty amazing men to choose from, including Kelsey Anderson's dad Mark. Joan Vasso always laughed whenever she mentioned her husband's obsession with reality TV. To most who knew her, Joan seemed the furthest from anyone who'd appreciate a dose of drama that reality TV often served up. She was grounded, practical, and didn't have time for things she considered frivolous. Yet her husband, Greg Vasso, was the opposite. A man who adored reality shows. He didn't just enjoy them, he devoured them. From survival series to house-flipping competitions, Greg could never get enough. It became something of a running joke between them. While Joan would head out for an evening with friends or dive into a book, Greg would sink into the couch, snacks in hand, glued to the latest episode of whatever wild reality show had captured his attention that week. And while Joan didn't understand the fascination, she adored how animated Greg became during these shows. His love for reality TV wasn't just passive watching. It was a full-on event, complete with running commentary, predictions, and heated debates over the latest betrayals or triumphs. However, there was one show Joan wasn't sure Greg ever indulged in: The Bachelor. The Vassos were an unlikely couple in many ways. Joan was intellectual, driven, and no-nonsense, while Greg had a more carefree, playful approach to life. In his world, entertainment was meant to be just that, entertaining. And no show on TV fit the bill quite like The Bachelor, with its mixture of romance, rivalry, and ridiculous over-the-top dates. Yet, if Greg did watch it, he never brought it up to Joan, at least not directly. Joan always wondered why. Could it be that The Bachelor's focus on romance was too much even for Greg's reality TV appetite? Or maybe he feared Joan would make fun of him for getting wrapped up in the whirlwind of roses, heartbreak, and carefully curated drama. She wouldn't have judged him, of course. After all, Greg watched everything else. And there were hints, small clues that maybe Greg had dipped a toe into The Bachelor's waters. Joan remembered one particular instance from years ago. It was a Monday night, the time when The Bachelor aired its new episodes, and she noticed Greg's unusual behavior. He was sitting in his usual TV watching spot, but when she asked what he was watching, he quickly changed the channel. "Just flipping through," he'd said, a bit too nonchalantly. The look on his face was one of guilt, but also a playful spark, as if he'd been caught sneaking an extra slice of cake after dinner. Joan had raised an eyebrow, but didn't press the issue. Later, she found herself wondering if Greg had indeed been indulging in The Bachelor in secret. The idea amused Joan, and as the years passed, she began to think of Greg as having a secret Bachelor obsession. What else could explain his suspicious knowledge of phrases like final rose, 2-on-1 date, and even here for the right reasons? Joan had never mentioned the show in front of him, so how did he know these specific terms? It was a mystery she never solved, but it added another layer of charm to her husband, the man who lived for the thrill of unscripted television. Even so, Joan never saw Greg openly watching The Bachelor. He preferred his tough guy reality shows, survival in the wilderness, treasure hunting, and competitions where the stakes were physical. Shows like The Bachelor didn't seem to fit into that mold, at least not at first glance. But Joan had to admit, the more she thought about it, the more it made sense that Greg might have secretly enjoyed the rose ceremonies and dramatic exits just as much as he loved watching teams race to find gold in Alaska. In retrospect, Greg's fascination with reality TV wasn't just about the competition or the spectacle. Joan had come to realize it was about people, their flaws, their desires, their quests for something more in life. Whether it was a struggling chef trying to redeem themselves in front of a panel of ruthless judges, or a hopeful single trying to find love amidst a group of 20 other contenders, Greg loved watching people face challenges and make decisions. And wasn't The Bachelor exactly that? Sure, the challenges were of the heart and the setting was luxurious. But at its core, the show was about people navigating the twists and turns of life. One evening, long after Greg had passed, Joan found herself scrolling through channels. Feeling the familiar sense of nostalgia creep in, she stopped when she saw a rerun of The Bachelor. Without much thought, she clicked on it and started watching, unsure of what she expected. It didn't take long for Joan to realize something surprising. She was kind of hooked. The drama, the awkward dates, the impossible situations, it was all so human. As Joan sat there, engrossed in the emotional turmoil of the contestants, she could almost hear Greg's voice beside her, offering his humorous takes on the events unfolding. She could imagine him laughing at the absurdity of it all, throwing out his own theories about who would get the final rose. The thought made her smile, and for the first time, Joan felt like she understood Greg's love for these shows on a deeper level. It wasn't just about the entertainment or the escapism. It was about connection. Greg had always been fascinated by how people reacted to life's curveballs, whether they were real or exaggerated for TV. He'd loved seeing people's stories, their vulnerabilities, their triumphs. And now, in a strange way, watching The Bachelor felt like a connection to him, as though she could share a little piece of his world once again. So, did Greg Vasso watch The Bachelor? Joan liked to think that maybe, just maybe he had. Maybe he'd secretly enjoyed every ridiculous, over-the-top second of it, just as he'd enjoyed all the other reality shows that brought him joy. And if he did, Joan realized she wouldn't have blamed him. Not one bit.